In this video, we will explore Flutter widgets. By the end of this video, you will have good understandings of what exactly is a Flutter widget, what are the types of Flutter widget, which will lead us to stateless widgets, stateful widgets, and we will also learn choosing between stateless and stateful widget along with the code example. So let's get started. First thing first, what exactly is a widget in Flutter? Well, widgets are the building blocks of a Flutter app's user interface. Everything you see on the screen is a widget, from a simple text label to very complex layouts. In Flutter, widgets are immutable. Immutable refers to anything that cannot be mutated after it has been initialized, which means once you create a widget, you cannot modify its properties directly. Instead, when you want to make changes to that specific widget, you typically create a new widget with the desired changes. Let's discuss types of widget in Flutter. There are two types of widget in Flutter. One is stateless widget and the second is stateful widget. Let's first discuss stateless widget. These widgets don't have any internal state and they don't change over time. Examples include text labels and icons. Here is a syntax of a stateless widget. You need to extend your widget from stateless widget class, and in the build method you need to define your layout. Now let's talk about stateful widgets. They have internal state that can be modified. They also contain a life cycle, and a life cycle of a stateful widget involves several methods that are called in a specific sequence. Those methods include initState, build, and dispose. Stateful widgets are used for the UI elements which need to update in response to some events like user interactions and data changes. When we update any variable in that state, we need to call setState function in order to keep the UI in sync. Examples include switches and input fields. Here is the syntax of a stateful widget. You need to extend your widget from stateful widget class. It has two parts. First is the widget itself, which is immutable, while we attach with it a state which is mutable, and state variables can be modified. As you can see, a variable which is being incremented on button click, and we use a built-in function called setState to update the UI as we discussed earlier. This demonstrates how the widget itself is immutable, but its states can change. So now let's come to our next point. When should you choose stateless and stateful widgets? Rule of thumb is to use stateless widgets for static content that does not change over time, like a fixed icon or text, and use stateful widgets for dynamic content that can change in response to user interactions. Let's get our hands dirty with an example. Here we have our project up and running. As you can see, we have three main UI elements: a static label, the counter itself, and a button to increment that counter. First, let's talk about the static label. Since this label does not change, we will use a stateless widget for it. Next, let's focus on the counter itself and the button. These elements are dynamic because they can change when we interact with the button. For this, we use a stateful widget. Here is the code for our stateful widget. In our stateful widget, we maintain the state of the counter, which includes a variable to store the counter value, and we also have a function to increment it. Let's see it in action. When I press button, the counter increments. The setState function ensures the UI updates with the new value. To wrap it up, understanding when and how to use these widgets is key to building efficient and responsive Flutter apps. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and comment below if you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you would like me to cover in future videos. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.